Okay, ready to dive in today? We're going deep into the world of mushrooms.
Sounds fun.
But not just any mushrooms. We're talking gourmet cultivation, psilocybin, the whole shebang.
We're going to unearth some seriously cool stuff about these fascinating fungi.
We've got our hands on growing gourmet and medicinal mushrooms for all the cultivation geeks out there.
Plus, we'll dig into groundbreaking research on psilocybin.
And to top it off, we'll be cracking open Magic Mushroom Explorer for a personal take on psychedelic exploration.
By the time we're done, you'll be looking at mushrooms in a whole new light.
You'll understand their life cycles, how to cultivate them like a pro.
And who knows, you might even start questioning the very nature of intelligence itself.
First up, I gotta tell you about something that blew my mind, mycelium. It's like this hidden network, this intricate web beneath our feet.
Ah, mycelium. Easy to forget, it's even there, but it's the foundation of it all.
Seriously. It's like the nervous system of the forest orchestrating this incredible flow of life beneath the surface.
Yeah, these networks, they can be massive, spanning acres, connecting entire ecosystems.
It's mind-boggling. Growing gourmet and medicinal mushrooms calls it nature's ultimate recycler.
And they're right. Those tiny threads break down all the organic matter, fallen leaves, decaying wood.
And then they transform it all into nutrients that fuel the entire forest. It's like this beautiful cycle of life and death and rebirth.
Absolutely essential for a healthy forest, too.
Imagine if we had to deal with all that dead stuff ourselves, mountains of leaves, and who knows what else.
We'd be drowning in it. Thankfully, saprophytic mushrooms are much better at decomposition than we are.
Get this, though. A single cubic inch of soil can contain over a mile of these interwoven mycelium strands.
A mile. That's insane.
I know, right? It's like a bustling underground metropolis, a microscopic highway system.
Shutting nutrients back and forth, keeping the whole forest alive.
And that's not all. Mycelium also acts as a natural filter, cleansing toxins and pollutants from the soil.
Like little environmental superheroes.
Yeah.
And scientists are even exploring their potential for cleaning up oil spills in contaminated areas.
So we're talking gourmet delicacies, potent medicine, and even environmental saviors.
All thanks to this humble, often overlooked network called mycelium.
It's incredible when you really think about it. But enough about the hidden wonders. Let's talk about how we actually get to enjoy those delicious mushrooms.
You mean the journey from a tiny spore to a fully formed mushroom?
Exactly. It's like magic to me. How does something so small, a microscopic spore, transform into something we can actually see, touch, and savor?
Well, picture this. You start with a pure culture of mycelium, like a starter kit for mushroom growth, carefully cultivated on a petri dish.
Like a tiny mushroom garden in a dish. I remember reading about this in Growing Gourmet and Medicinal Mushrooms. They talked about transferring this pure culture to grain spawn to get the party started.
Exactly. The grain spawn is like a gourmet buffet for the mycelium, allowing it to rapidly multiply and expand. It gives those little mushroom babies the energy they need to thrive.
So they feast on the grain, and then what? Do they need a bigger playground to really take off?
You got it. Once the mycelium has fully colonized the grain spawn, it's time to introduce it to a larger substrate, something like sawdust, straw, or even logs.
It's like creating a miniature forest floor, giving them the perfect environment to flourish.
Speaking of flourishing, did you know that a single mushroom can release millions of spores?
Millions? Seriously?
Millions. It's mind-boggling how nature ensures its survival.
Talk about hedging your bets. But I guess if only a fraction of those spores find a suitable environment, it's enough to keep the mushroom legacy going strong.
Exactly. It's a numbers game, and nature's pretty good at playing the odds.
So we got the basics down, but let's talk about cultivating different types of mushrooms. I'm guessing each species has its own preferences, right?
Oh, absolutely. Take oyster mushrooms, for example. They're pretty low maintenance, happy to grow on a simple substrate of pasteurized straw.
You can even grow those indoors, right?
Yeah, imagine having a fresh supply of oyster mushrooms right in your kitchen.
Now you're talking my language. Sautéed with a little garlic and white wine, delicious.
And then there's reishi, the king of medicinal mushrooms, used in traditional Chinese medicine for centuries.
It's like the wise old sage of the mushroom world.
Reishi is definitely in a league of its own, known for boosting the immune system and relieving stress. But cultivating them is a bit more challenging. They need specific temperatures and humidity levels to really thrive.
It's like they demand respect for their potent properties.
Exactly. And then we have the elusive morels, those honeycomb-shaped delicacies that drive mushroom hunters wild.
I've heard they're notoriously difficult to cultivate.
They are. They have this fascinating symbiotic relationship with certain trees.
So cultivating morels requires patience, experimentation, and maybe even a little bit of luck.
You could say that, but imagine the satisfaction of a homegrown morel harvest a testament to your dedication and understanding of these finicky fungi.
Okay, so we've covered the gourmet delights, the medicinal marvels, but now I'm curious to venture into a different realm, the realm of psychedelic exploration. Where do psilocybin mushrooms fit into this fascinating fungal landscape?
It's like stepping through a looking glass, isn't it? From savoring their earthy flavors to exploring the depths of consciousness, psilocybin mushrooms definitely take us on a trip.
Speaking of trips, that reminds me of Simon G. Powell's book, Mushroom Explorer. His whole concept of natural intelligence really got me thinking.
It's a mind bender, right? The idea that intelligence isn't limited to brains like ours.
Right. Powell sees intelligence everywhere. In the way ecosystems self-regulate, the intricate communication networks of plants, even in the adaptability of fungi, like we've been talking about.
He's basically saying the whole planet is humming with a consciousness we haven't fully grasped yet.
It's like this hidden language, this ancient wisdom woven into the very fabric of nature.
Exactly, and he calls it natural intelligence. This inherent wisdom of the natural world that operates beyond our typical understanding of thought or awareness.
He talks about experiencing this sacred pattern during his psilocybin journeys, this interconnected web of energy that seems to permeate all things.
It's a common thread in these kinds of experiences, this feeling of interconnectedness, a sense of tapping into something much larger than oneself. But it's important to remember that psychedelic experiences are incredibly personal. What Powell describes resonated deeply with him, but those experiences aren't necessarily universal.
So it's not like a one-size-fits-all revelation. More like psilocybin gives you the tools to access a different level of reality, and what you find there is unique to you.
That's a good way to put it. It's less about concrete answers and more about opening yourself up to new perspectives, new ways of perceiving the world and your place in it.
Okay, so that makes sense. But how does psilocybin actually do that? What's the mechanism at play?
Well, Powell's theory is that psilocybin acts like a key. It unlocks certain pathways in our brains that are normally dormant pathways that allow us to perceive and connect with this deeper level of reality, this natural intelligence he talks about.
So it's like we have this innate ability to tap into this broader consciousness, but it takes something like psilocybin to unlock it?
That's the idea. But it's important to approach these concepts with a healthy dose of both curiosity and skepticism. Powell's accounts are fascinating. We have to be careful about drawing definitive conclusions based solely on subjective experiences.
Totally. It's not like science has it all figured out either. There's still so much we don't know about consciousness and how psilocybin affects the brain.
Absolutely. But there is a growing body of scientific research exploring psilocybin's potential therapeutic applications for a wide range of mental health conditions.
That's right. We're talking about treatment-resistant depression, anxiety disorders, addiction, even end-of-life anxiety.
It seems that psilocybin can help people break free from rigid negative thought patterns and access deeper levels of introspection and self-awareness.
So it's not like taking psilocybin magically erases all your problems.
Not at all. It's not a quick fix. Responsible therapeutic use of psilocybin involves careful preparation-guided sessions with trained therapists and integration work afterward to process and incorporate the insights gained during the experience.
It's more like a catalyst for healing and self-discovery, a tool to help people access and work through deep-seated issues in a safe and supportive environment.
Exactly. And we can't forget that this research is still in its early stages. There's so much more to learn about the long-term effects of psilocybin and how to best utilize its therapeutic potential. We need to proceed with both enthusiasm and caution.
So we've got these compelling personal accounts, intriguing theories, and promising early research. It's a lot to take in. Where do we even go from here?
I think the most important takeaway is this. We're being challenged to expand our understanding of intelligence and consciousness. What if our current definitions are too narrow? What if we've only just begun to scratch the surface of what's truly possible?
It's a call to stay curious, to be open to new possibilities, and to approach these powerful substances with respect, recognizing both their potential and the need for responsible use.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Balancing a sense of wonder with critical thinking and scientific rigor. That's what makes this exploration so fascinating.
Okay, so we've gone from the forest floor to the frontiers of consciousness, but there's one more stop on our mushroom journey. The often confusing world of psilocybin legality.
Yeah, it's a bit of a maze out there. Different laws, different countries. It's enough to make your head spin.
To put it mildly, in many places, including the US, psilocybin is still classified as a Schedule A drug.
That's right, meaning it's considered to have a high potential for abuse and no currently accepted medical use.
Which seems kind of crazy considering all the research we just discussed about its potential for treating depression and anxiety addiction.
It's definitely a point of contention. The science seems to be telling one story while the law is stuck on another.
Exactly. So how do we reconcile these two seemingly opposing viewpoints?
Well, we're seeing cities in the U.S. decriminalizing psilocybin mushrooms, making them the lowest priority for law enforcement. It's a step in the right direction, many would argue.
It's like the tide is turning. People are starting to recognize that the old way of thinking about psilocybin just doesn't hold up anymore.
Exactly. Advocates for psilocybin reform often point to the outdated laws, claiming they're based more on fear and stigma than on actual evidence.
Which brings us back to Simon G. Powell. Didn't he lobby Parliament in the UK to reconsider the legal status of psilocybin?
He did. He was a passionate advocate for keeping psilocybin mushrooms legal. Even wrote a whole report outlining his arguments known as the Powell Report.
And while it didn't lead to immediate legal changes, it definitely got people talking.
It brought the issue into the spotlight, which is often the first step towards meaningful change.
So where does that leave us? What does the future hold for psilocybin? Will we see a world where it's widely accepted for its therapeutic potential?
It's hard to say for sure. The legal landscape is complex and ever-changing. But one thing is certain, the conversation is far from over.
And it's a conversation worth having. We need to keep exploring the potential benefits of psilocybin, especially for those who haven't found relief through traditional means. But we also need to be mindful of potential risks and proceed with caution.
Absolutely. It's about finding that balance between open-mindedness and careful consideration, embracing the potential while acknowledging the complexity.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of mushrooms, what's the key takeaway you hope our listeners walk away with?
Don't be afraid to question, to explore, to keep an open mind. The world of mushrooms, from the humble mycelium to the mind-bending psilocybin, is full of surprises. There's so much more to discover if we're willing to look.
Beautifully put. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the fascinating world of mushrooms. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those minds open.